I want to reflect on some comments you made this morning, quite rightly, about the idiocy of the protests and the worst language possible that could be used after what has happened in Israel the past couple of days. You and I, of course, both on the air 20 years ago when some people who were newer arrivals to the country were bringing old grievances with them and were making bizarre statements in those days of 20 years ago. They were unacceptable then, but the way we got our head around it was, well, OK, they've come from somewhere else. You told us this morning on the radio that the bloke who has been ripping in, carrying on, celebrating what has happened in Israel, will tell us, where did he come from?
Born in Sydney, of Lebanese parentage, has been a scholar of the Islamic faith for quite some time, but born in Sydney. And I mean, after the rave that you heard last night at Lakemba, and, you know, he whipped the crowd into a frenzy. You know, what Hamas has done is magnificent, the best thing ever, killing these Jewish people, innocent Jewish people in the main, including those people who went to the festival, 250 young people there to celebrate music, nothing else, slain. He whipped them into a frenzy. And then I got the emails, the obligatory emails and calls from listeners saying, well, send him back. I said, it was a bit hard to send him back. He's here. He's our problem. He's not Lebanon's problem. He's our problem. And then again, earlier tonight, we've had another protest. This time the Greens are involved in it. I mean, fair dinkum. As useful as a chocolate teapot, the Greens, just hopeless. And they're encouraging people to get into the town hall earlier tonight and protest. I've had a call from the Jewish Board of Deputies. They've advised Jewish people who may have gone to perhaps show some solidarity at the Opera House because of the lighting up of the sails blue and white in an act of solidarity from the Labor government. They've advised people not to go because they're fearful that these people may move from the town hall down to the Opera House and they may clash. So, I mean, it's a terrible state of affairs when Australia, we're a long way from where this has all happened, the atrocities that have been reported in the last 48 hours. The Jewish people who make a wonderful contribution, they're Australians, are told not to come into town because there may be drama, stay at home. And they also told me that parents were ringing schools today, Jewish schools in the eastern suburbs and other parts of Sydney, and children were kept home for fear that they may be targeted as well. I mean, it's terrible, terrible, hopeless.
Well, also, I mean, we saw that when the state wanted to respond aggressively to what protests could and couldn't happen during COVID, well, they were pretty aggressive there. Surely, when the sales of the Opera House were being lit up, it's pretty obvious that the Greens and other people wanting to whip these things up should be kept as far away from places like the city tonight.
Yeah, well, you'd imagine so, but you see, we've got a government on trainer wheels, Paul. We've got a police minister on trainer wheels. And we've also got people within the Labor Party, like the former Premier Bob Carr, who think the Chinese need praising and the Palestinians via Hamas need praising as well. So you've got powerful people within the Labor Party, not necessarily Chris Minns and some of his ministers, but others within the Labor structure who think what's happened in Israel is okay. That, you know, they're the invaders and the Palestinians via Hamas are doing what they are obliged to do and claim land back. But look, the protest shouldn't have gone ahead last night, but of course it happened quickly. This one, there's been plenty of notice about that. It shouldn't have gone ahead either. And I think it's showing, despite the fact that Chris Minns has lit up the sails, I think it's showing a weakness and an inexperience of a Premier and his police minister in not dealing with it up front. They might deal with it tomorrow. By that time, it may be too late.